moving to a very different type of player. Small, shifty, maybe the best player in the league with the ball in his hands, Kadarius Toney. It feels like people just want to buy into a Patrick Mahomes wide receiver. He's the best quarterback in the league. He's maybe the best quarterback ever. There's got to be a wide receiver, surely. So we're just trying to push somebody up. And Kadarius Toney was the one this year. Do you think that there's any world that Kadarius Toney can repay the ridiculous prices that he's currently going at?
I don't, and he has dropped it. Got to point out that ever since he turned up to the start of training camp and immediately was injured, and then the talk is that he might be ready for week 1, he has slid, but only to the point where he's wide receiver 46 and wide receiver 45 is Sky Moore. So it's like people still aren't completely convinced. People aren't completely out on Kadarius Toney. He's still talking about a top 100 pick in redraft leagues and on Underdog. And the believers, they point to Kadarius Toney's insanely high targets per route run figures. But, we're talking about a player who he only ran 8 routes in the Super Bowl and Conference Championship. The fact is that Toney just carries this narrative around with him that he's not particularly good at picking up the playbook. He's not particularly a hard worker in terms of learning everything behind the scenes. And that seems to make sense for what we see on the field, as well as the only consistency that he's had for his career has been being injured. I think he's an electric player, but I think he's just going to be always one of those players where plays are designed for him and you get those spike weeks, you get those touchdowns, and he can be a fun player to mix in for DFS, for best ball. But I don't think I'd ever be able to start Kadarius Toney in a managed league with any faith.
At some point, we need to start just looking at what the player is. This is a player that was a 4-year player at Florida. At no point did he ever consistently get on the field and produce. He had a mix of injuries, falling out with coaches, not understanding the playbook. He gets drafted in the first round because there is undeniable talent by the Giants. He gets injured. He falls out with coaches. He doesn't understand the playbook. He then gets traded to the Chiefs. And yes, when he's on the field, he has been incredible. But he's not picked up the playbook. He's wasn't on the, as you said, on the field when it mattered the most in the Conference Championship and Super Bowl. And then he's got injured again. I just don't know if I can ever buy into a player that, yes, when he's on the field, he's going to be phenomenal. But would you be shocked if he only played 1 or 2 games this year? And do you have any idea when you're going to be able to put him in that starting lineup? Because I sure as hell don't. And I don't want to waste a valuable roster spot on a guy that I'm saying I'm probably going to have to carry for 17 weeks, but I might only be able to start him for 3 because he might get injured again. It just feels like, to me, this is a player. I don't ever have a do not draft list because I believe that at some point everyone becomes a value. But Kadarius Toney is potentially the one player that might fall onto that do not draft list because I just can't see a world where I click it.
So on that, okay, if Kadarius Toney is going around pick 90 at the minute, how far would he have to fall for you to take him?
He'd have to be at least in the double-digit rounds.
I think, so the only times I've taken him lately in best ball leagues, he's fallen to around 110. And at that point, it's like, okay, in terms of ceiling, you're looking at the Juju Smith-Schuster, Alan Lazard area of the draft, and I'm completely fine taking a shot. But where you go inside the top 100, I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm completely in agreement with you 100% there.